The Board of Commissioners to order here at 10:01. Those who are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda? All right, we'll move on. Any additions to the agenda? By the Commissioner, no? All right. Move on to the meeting minutes. If they're fine, we'll take a motion.
Excuse me, if someone comes with public comment, she'll mean to tell you, she's coming right in, trying to get you security.
All right, they're,
I just know what she said, so I'm asking.
okay, clearing security right now.
Should we do the minutes?
I suppose we might as well do the minutes while we wait.
It's just me today. Thank you for waiting. Public comment?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, the
Just one
sheriff
moment.
said it was time.
Yeah, no,
it's okay.
public comments, the first thing on the agenda after the pledge.
I'm sorry, I was stopped at the gate coming
All right,
through.
okay, go
Is
ahead.
that- Okay, thank you.
Your name and your
Great,
municipality.
thank you. Appreciate the moment. My name is, thank you for acknowledging me. My name is Laura Giannini, and I reside in Ferguson Township. I did have some handouts for the commissioners that I do have ready. I just wanted to pop quickly over to you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. I only had one staple left. You're the winner of the staple.
Okay.
This morning. Thank you. As I said, I reside in Ferguson Township. Ferguson Township is divided into wards. I don't know how unique that is in the county, but it's pretty unique in the center region. If you know much about the ward system, one of the reasons it's there is because each of the areas of Ferguson Township is quite unique. So I live in Ward 1, which is what one would call primarily a rural portion of that township. We all typically have septic at our residences, and none of us in the rural portion of Ward 1 are served by the State College Borough Water Authority. Only the people in Pine Grove Mills area are served by the State College Borough Water Authority, and that transfer happened in 2000. The reason I'm here is because myself and many of my neighbors are served by the Rock Spring Water Company, which when I bought my home there, I specifically checked to see if I had public water. And indeed, on that listing, it said public. Interestingly, this company is known as a privately owned public water system. Now, think about that for a while. It's very confusing, but it's similar to, say, PA American Water. So they are in the same class, and they are regulated by the PUC. So one thing I wanted to mention, that over the years, one theme that has been coming up as we deal with the system conditions of Rock Spring Water Company is when we attempt to make informal complaints to the PUC, we are told by the PUC that the PUC does not regulate Rock Spring Water Company. So this is in writing on letterhead of the PUC from 2018. This is something that many individuals have had this type of experience. Okay, so I've been talking at the COG, I've been talking at Ferguson Township, and now I'm here. I just want to spread some awareness about the situation there. So Ferguson, sorry, let me backtrack. I moved into my house in 2009, and I won't go on forever. I know it sounds like a long story, but I will wrap it up rather quickly. I moved in 2009, again, completely unaware of the situation. As it became clear to me that the condition of the water service was questionable through the first boil water notice we received, I became concerned about that service. Now, at that time, the owner was digging many, many pits in my yard, chasing a leak, which he never found because it wasn't on my property. But at that time, I realized there are many misconceptions about what's going on out there and what that company is permitted to do on properties. And I began to investigate. Turns out they don't have a map. So they don't have a map of their system, and that's why the digging for the, right, okay. So one of the handouts you've received is, it's a privately owned public water system. So the first is a list of shareholders. So shareholders make money off of a company. That's what shareholding is about. So I was always told that these individuals live far, far away. But they don't. They're our neighbors. Something like 9 of the 12, or I believe maybe there's 10 now. Anyway, the vast majority of them are our neighbors. So they do vote on the management of that system. Now, in 2008, the State College Borough Water Authority did a condition report. In that condition report, which is handed out to the township residents in 2013, when we were told that our hydrants no longer worked because of the condition of the company.
Laura, I'll pause it there for
okay.
a minute. We have a 5-minute limit
Okay,
per
all right,
person
so-
for public comment. You're 4
Fine.
minutes in.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. There have been 3 condition reports now. Each get progressively worse in the outcome, and the final condition report basically says we need $12 million to completely replace the system because it's completely defunct. One of the other papers you see is that there is a water loss that is far above what is allowed by law, and it's always been that way. You can see the table of every year it completely being excessive. There have been multiple court cases over this, and they failed to be enforced. So there's one right now, this will be my wrap up. There's one right now by the DEP, and they have an order to enforce by December 31st, 2024. There are very specific things that the company needs to do by then. The problem is that each time there's one of these big cases and they have to do something, they never do it and nobody holds them accountable. So I'm here to just, one, bring awareness. I'm going to try to get here and be in my 5 minutes and be here on time in the future because we really need to, as a community, learn about the situation there. Final wrap up on that is Act 12. Please look into it because it's very detrimental to consumers. I can give you some information. It allows for takeovers of these defunct companies, and then the rates skyrocket to the point of, people not being able to afford to live there. It's really a crisis. So, in sum, thank you for your time. This is a very bad problem. You may not have ever heard about it before, but it's been existing for a very, very long time. And I would appreciate, and the community would appreciate, if you can bring some attention to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, really, truly, thank you. I know I rambled, but it's such a complex thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. I don't actually think we approved the minutes, so.
I'll make a motion then to approve the minutes from the meeting held September 3rd.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes from the meeting held on September 3rd. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will move on to a series of 3 resolutions from our planning department, which I believe does have maps. So if you'd like to start the presentation, Ray, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. I'm standing in here for Leslie Hosterman from CEDACOG for our CDBG program, but 3 resolutions are related to our fiscal year 2024 application. The first resolution authorizes the submission of the application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community Economic Development for fiscal year 2024 under the Community Development Block Grant Program. Total program allotment for Center County is $458,677. The projects that entails would be Eagle Creek Water and Sewer. On behalf of Bellefonte Borough would be the Talleyrand Park Suspension Bridge accessibility, and also CEDACOG administration for the program. The second resolution, 10 of 2024, is a resolution appointing Krista Davis as the Section 504 compliance officer and establishing a grievance procedure for complaints regarding accessibility into county facilities. And the last resolution, Resolution 11 of 2024, is appointing Betsy Barnt as the local fair housing officer for any housing-related discrimination complaints across the county. Those are all required with the application to DCED, and we'd like the commissioners to consider approval.
Great. Well, thank you for covering that, Ray. And for the folks at home, the Community Development Block Grant Program is a federal program where Center County government receives hundreds of thousands of dollars, part of which we distribute to the Borough of Bellefonte. for projects in low to moderate income areas, which in Center County tends to be our rural portions. And we oftentimes use those funds to assist rural water and sewer authorities or for community assets in those areas.
Correct.
Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
I don't think so.
Commissioner Dershowitz? All right. Looks like unless there's any questions from anybody, no, looks like we can take a motion then.
I'll move to adopt resolutions 9, 10, and 11 of 2024.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolutions number 9, 10, and 11 of 2024. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great, thanks,
Thank you.
Ray.
Thank you.
All right, we are joined now by our district attorney, Bernie Cantorna. There you are, Bernie. Hi. For a contract that you'll give us an explanation on.
Yes, thank you. We're here probably every 2 years seeking authorization for our grant application that funds our victim witness office as well as a juvenile victim witness advocate. Our two advocates, along with your new courthouse dog, provide fundamental services to victims who are coming to court at some very, very trying times. The grants that we were applying for and will be approved, given your approval, are the Flights and Services Act, or RASA, and the Victim of Juvenile Offenders Act, or also known as VOJO. It would provide grants of $118,000 and $29,000 for the victim, the juvenile victim witness advocate, for a total annual funding of $147,000, which allows us, really, it's indispensable to do the work, and we're lucky that we can get this funding from the federal government. And there are times when it's come under question as to whether it would be, whether it would continue. It's going down a little every year, so people should advocate that these federal grants be continued, and we can't do our job without it. So
Great.
it
Well,
would
we'd
be
like
my
to-
request that you approve that.
Yes. Well, we'd like to thank our federal elected officials for at least continuing the funding, and we'd like to thank both our state elected officials and the governor for allowing this to pass through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. And as you mentioned, it's important funding for the county to be able to provide those services to victims. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
Sounds good.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Same here.
Gary's got a question.
Are we seeing more juveniles involved in the court system, whether they are offenders or victims?
We're seeing a pretty steady amount of juvenile offenders from year to year. I think our county's pretty healthy, so we're not necessarily seeing a increase in it. I'd say we're pretty, year to year, it's fairly predictable about the numbers. As far as victims, I would say, working with our local group on serious cases of violence where children are involved, we certainly have a number of serious cases that are working through the system, yes.
What kind of impact does that have on your office, the personnel? Is it a more challenging case sometimes when?
It's extremely challenging. It's challenging for the advocates and the attorneys, but more importantly, obviously, the victims and their families. And the impact sends ripples through our community and the family. And they're very difficult cases to prosecute as well. And there are a number of those that have been recently filed.
Those who are victim juveniles, are they mostly assault cases, or are they other type of cases where juveniles are victims?
I think our most serious cases are assault cases, the juveniles, sexual in nature. And it's certainly the most serious cases I believe that we have on a consistent basis. So unfortunate, but it's one of the things that we have to deal with pretty regularly.
So I have, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. We'd also like to thank District Attorney Cantorna and his dedicated staff for doing a wonderful job. We're seeing, as you mentioned, relatively steady numbers here in the county. Obviously, when someone is a victim of crime, especially a juvenile, it's very difficult, very heartbreaking, and your staff and the rest of the county staff do what they can to try to make the situation a bit better.
Yeah, it isn't by accident. We live in an extremely healthy county, economically and socially, and that you'll see that in the criminal justice system. As long as we keep doing what we're doing and providing services to our community members, jobs. The crime level definitely follows that. And so it's not by accident. So I
Yes.
think that's a
lot
thank you
of-
to everybody who works in the county.
A lot of difficult intentional effort by hundreds of people inside of county government and
Yep.
possibly thousands of people who serve on the 300 different charities throughout the county that work in a broad variety of areas. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or
No,
questions?
thank you.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
Good to go.
All right, looks like we could take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the Rights and Services Act and Victims of Juvenile Offenders grant applications.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Rights and Services Act and Victims of Juvenile Offenders grant applications. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
All right, now Jonathan from Facilities has 3 items for us.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm asking for your consideration and approval of a contract addendum with Automated Logic Controls. That is our building automation software for the HVAC systems in the seven county facilities. That will also be in the newly renovated Human Services facility as well. And it's adding 8 additional 8-hour preventative maintenance visits where the company will come in, look through our entire system, and find anything that's currently acting up or broken. The next item is the contract with Guardian CSC. This is to provide chemical treatment for the heating and cooling loops in all of our buildings. It will also add the Human Services facility upon opening as well. That's the next item is for Cleveland Brothers Company. This is for preventative maintenance for the new Human Services facility generator once that opens up July of next year. All of these contracts will start in January of '25.
Great. Well, thanks for covering those, Jonathan. And even I sometimes forget we have 7, soon to be 8 separate buildings that house county staff.
Yes.
Appreciate the work. Commissioner Concepcion,
Now, thanks for going over these.
Commissioner Dershowitz.
Good to go. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a motion then.
I'll move to add the facilities management items 1 through 3 to next week's consent agenda.
We'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to add the 3 items for facilities management to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
All right, now, Melanie, I think I can still call you our new elections director,
Yeah.
has an item for us relating to training.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. I am asking for your approval of a contract with Election Systems and Software, LLC, to perform the 3-day poll worker training for the 2024 general election at the Penn Stater Hotel, the Conference Center. The contract total is $5,925 for the time period of October 5th through October 15th through October 17th. This will free up Jody to help with, to stay back at the office and help with any of the incoming mail-in ballots, because we do anticipate the ballots be going out a couple weeks before that. I will attend poll worker training, but because I don't know and I'm not familiar with Center County's techniques of training, I'll be there to observe and to help out in any way that I can.
Great, well, sounds like a good idea. This is a time when we're very, very stressed and feels like shorthanded.
Yes.
I mentioned to a couple citizens recently that the permanent staff of the Elections Department is roughly 4 people. And on Election Day, between the, is it 86 polling locations? I'm trying to remember, but now that we've condensed some on
Yeah,
campus.
I think we were looking, and that's about the total that we have, since we do have a couple that are all together.
Right. And then in addition, we have the Vote by Mail Center. So on Election Day, counting the people in this room who are tabulating everything, we could be pushing close to 1,000 employees in your department. So
Yeah.
that's, I don't know what that percentage increase is, but it's absolutely massive to go from 4 to almost 1,000. So we appreciate what you and your staff are doing. We're happy to help try to lighten the load a little bit.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're getting there.
Good. And do we still need poll workers?
I know Jody is on that, but we're always looking for people to sign up for temporary poll workers, fill-ins, anywhere we can.
Great, great. Commissioner
How
Concepcion, your
would someone
chair.
who's interested in being a poll worker, what is the best way for them to contact
They could either
you?
call our office, or there is a website on the Department of State's website that you can sign up to be a poll worker, and it automatically comes to Jody and I.
So is that votespa.gov?
Votes.pa.gov.
Yeah. Great.
Anything else since you're chair of Board of Elections?
Yes, I think this is the time when we're really working to make sure we have all of those roles filled. And
Yes.
we need a lot of support from the community. So
Jody is doing a very, very, very good job
Wonderful.
at getting everyone in there.
Good. But we do still want people to reach out.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. We always want a list of,
Yeah.
of people.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I'd like to give a shout out to all the seasonal folks there. I know there's
Yes.
folks that are there for a couple of days. but
Yes.
there are folks that work months ahead of
Yes.
time that are temporary seasonal folks that really make it happen.
Yes.
And they work very hard to make sure that our election.
They are doing a
process
great
is-
job.
Yeah, and by the way, welcome aboard.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
Very
much.
excited to have you, and
Thank you.
and your expertise and experience will certainly be appreciated.
Thank you.
It's already appreciated, but it'll be more appreciated here in a very short while.
I look forward to learning everything that Center County has to offer.
Great, thank you.
I will echo Commissioner Dershowitz' comment, or hearing good things from people about you. So
Awesome. I love
that's,
that.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear. Gary, it looks like you might have a question or two.
If you worked polls before, or you're a veteran poll worker, do you still, is it still necessary to undergo the training program?
We'd like to have everyone go because we might have something new and we don't want to leave anybody out. So yes, we do recommend everyone come to poll worker training. If they can't, there's always, we have manuals, and if you want a one-on-one with us, we'd be more than happy to do that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. All
good
right.
question.
That's a good question. Unless there's anything else, I think we could take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the contract with Election Systems and Software LLC.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the contract with Election Systems and Software LLC. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay, motion carries. Great, thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to Human Services items, Dave in Transportation has our first one.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I come and ask for your consideration of approval of our PennDOT operational grant for the fiscal year 2024-2025 for both the senior shared ride service and our persons with disabilities. The grant total we were awarded from PennDOT is $958,296 this year, and that constitutes about 3/4 of it is for shared ride senior trips, and the other fourth or so would be, or a little bit less than that, would be Persons with Disabilities program. That is the only program other than full fare trips that people have to pay to ride. It's a small fee, though, for the trips they take. So it's a very popular program amongst those that are disabled and can't drive, and we take people to work in various places. There are some restrictions, but overall it covers most everything that these people need. So again, the amount is $958,296. It was approved for Center County for this year.
Great, well, thank you, Dave. Thanks for covering that, and thanks to PennDOT and again, our state legislators and the governor for covering at least a portion of the cost of providing this service in Center County. We'll mention that you can arrange trips with transportation, but you prefer to have a phone call or an email before, I think it's 2 p.m. the day, business day before?
Primarily phone calls we like best, at least a day in advance, but there are times that we get booked up and we have to shut days off. So if you know a week ahead of time, call and get it scheduled. That way you're on the books. Again, there are busy times that we have to restrict trips because of the number of people we have available. So the farther ahead, we take reservations 2 months in advance. So
Oh, my.
if you have a trip a month out, please call in and schedule that now. And then we have ways that we can call you prior to coming to get you and remind you. The day prior reservations, if you choose to have that reminder, we have that ability to set it up that you'll get to call the night before reminding you that you have a trip scheduled. So a lot of good things there. My reservationists are very good at setting these things up, and they do a pretty wonderful job.
Great, thanks, Dave. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, no questions, just thank you for making sure this service is so, easy for our residents to use. And we know that people who take advantage of this service often are really needed. It's really an important check-in on them as well, to have that
And
contact with your
that
department.
money that they're awarding us constitutes just those two programs, and that's over 40,000 trips with those two programs alone. So it doesn't include the sponsored by AAA, the 60 to 64 age, or the medical assistance, which we talked about a few weeks ago. So, it's a pretty huge portion of what we do, but it, in essence, we're up about 80 to 90,000 trips annually with all the programs. So, and we're increasing. So it's all good. We're seeing an increase, and so far we're handling it. As we need additional manpower, obviously I'll come back and ask for those opportunities as well when needed.
Great, thanks, Dave.
I'm
Commissioner
good,
Gershon.
thank you. No, appreciate all your hard work.
I will move to accept the fiscal year 24-25 Public Transportation Operating Assistance Grant Funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the state fiscal year 24-25 public transportation operating assistant grant funds, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we have two items. Oh, for Kathy, there you were, hiding in the back. For our Super Department of Mental Health, Intellectual Disability, Early Intervention, Drug, and Alcohol.
Good morning.
Morning.
Two items for today, and I believe we'll take each of these separately because we have different requests for the commissioners. The first is an expenditure report that's due to the Opiate Settlement Trust. This report is specifically for the time period January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. To date, our Center County has received 3 payments from the Opiate Settlement Trust, and the funds that we have received are $294,671.96. The report that is currently due is for the first 2 of 3 payments that we've received. And they are asking for an update on how we are using those funds and how they will be spent. And those dollars from the first 2 payments must be spent by December 30th of this year. What I am recommending as part of this expenditure report are just a few changes in how those dollars will be spent based on how we are progressing to date, to be sure that those dollars will be spent by December 30th. Specifically, we allocated a significant number of dollars for transportation project because of the changes that are currently happening with the CADA scheduling. That project is only getting started, and we do not believe that we will expend all of those dollars as originally planned by December 30th. So we're recommending that we shift some of those dollars to our student assistance project and to the HOPE initiative and the naloxone project that they are currently working on. It is our intention that with the third payment that doesn't have to be expended until the end of June of next year, that we will allocate some of those dollars back to transportation because we'll have more time to spend those dollars. So again, it's just a shift in using the dollars that have to be spent first on the projects that are more active and using dollars that we don't have to spend quite yet for transportation, which is just getting up and going. And again, it's just a matter of making sure that we expend the dollars that have to be spent first and satisfy the requirements of the trust. So those minor changes are what is being recommended in the expenditure report that has to be submitted this coming Monday in compliance with the requirements of the Opiate Settlement Trust. We are expecting another payment by the end of this year, and we will be putting recommendations together for the commissioners for how those dollars will be spent, and then future payments as they come along. Again, this report is due Monday, and we present this recommendation for these couple changes to the dollars that are currently being spent and have to be spent by December 30th. So we would ask today that the board consider approving this expenditure report and the proposed changes for the use of these opiate settlement dollars so that the report can be submitted on Monday.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Any questions, Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, it sounds like you're just continuing to try to make sure we're using these funds in the most optimal way to meet the needs of as many people as possible.
Great, Commissioner Dershowitz?
No, very, very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a motion then.
I will move to approve the draft expenditure. I'm sorry.
Sorry, don't you have to do the motion, then
Okay.
you do the question? All right.
I'll move to approve the draft expenditure report and proposed change in spending plan for the use of the opiate settlement funds.
I will second that.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the draft expenditure report and proposed change in the spending plan for the use of the opiate settlement funds. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. Gary?
Oh, the question I asked Bernie, does the settlement allow money to be spent on prevention or treatment programs tailored for juveniles?
It allows us to spend the funds in a host of ways, including juveniles as well as adults, prevention, treatment, community activities, school activities. The Appendix E is a section within the settlement that provides a comprehensive list of activities and where the funds can be used, and then that allows the county to tailor the activities to what is needed within the community itself. And so every county, every jurisdiction can tailor it to its own needs, and it also allows us to make changes based on what's happening at any given point in time.
All right, thanks, Gary. Good question. Why don't we cover the second item then?
Second item. The second item we have for the board today is a letter of agreement with CARES of Central PA Incorporated to provide services including community participation services, transportation, supported employment, and respite services. These services are specific to individuals with intellectual disabilities. The contract total is $82,000, and those dollars are allocated $78,220 from our state funds, and the county match is $3,780. And this letter of agreement will be from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025.
Great, thanks, Kathy. Any questions from either commissioner on that one? All right.
Then I'll move to add the letter of agreement with CARES of Central PA, Inc. to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor of adding the letter of agreement with CARES of Central PA, Inc. to next week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. Great, thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
And now Faith has a number of items for us for adult services, but I think we have to pause and approve the first item before we cover the rest of it.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
The first four items I have are related to the EREP 2 25% projects that we've been working on, but you are correct, the first one is a request for same-day approval. So the first is a contract with the Acres Project for their pilot housing program. This would add additional affordable housing and supportive services to our community for low-income adults with autism. I'm requesting same day for a $486,550 contract so that they can purchase a home and settle by the end of the month. So that's really exciting. So time sensitive.
You've identified a house.
Yep. Yep.
Very good.
Yep. Let's use a motion on that before I go on.
Right, so I think we'll mention this is the first of four projects
Yes.
that the commissioners are helping fund for affordable housing from our EREP 2 25% funds. We have a total of almost 2 million available. I think this is a little over $1 million, so we have just shy of $1 million. We need to also distribute and at least send requests in to the state before December. So we'd like to definitely thank our Affordable Housing Task Force for reviewing these, giving us advice and feedback, and of course, you, your staff, and Betsy and planning staff for, as we've been doing here for the past, what, Steve, 4 years or so? Kind of building the airplane as we fly it. But I think these 4 projects will be very impactful for the citizens of Center County. Commissioner Concepcion, comments or questions?
Yeah, no, just I'm glad we're able to fund a project that has this much value and being able to work with a nonprofit organization that's also providing these services for individuals who need services. It's just a really good collaborative effort. It's nice.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I think this project will have a lasting impact for the community, and I think this is pretty exciting to see it finally get off the ground. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, because autism is a spectrum, and there are a number of people who are pretty high functioning, but it would help if they kind of had somebody looking over their shoulder. And obviously, people live a long time, so maybe your parents aren't available or around to assist you as you get older, and this is a perfect project for that. Great. All right, unless there's anything else on this one, let's have a motion for approval.
Okay, I'll move to approve the contract with the Acres Project Pilot Housing.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the contract with Acres Project Pilot Housing. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. And now you have a number of other items for us.
Okay. So moving forward with the EREP 2 25% programs or projects, the first is the State College Community Land Trust. This is for the construction of the Old Bollesburg Road flats. So that's on a property right next to the Old Bollesburg Road townhomes. It'll be 2 one-bedroom apartments, one on top of the other. The bottom is for ADA accessible, and then the top can be for whomever. So they have a lot of different financial supports coming in from HUD and DCD and FAIR. So they are asking for $353,948 to help fund that project. The third is a contract approval, a contract with Anchor May Investments, LLC. They are looking to construct a modular home on a piece of property they've already purchased in the area. They have a lot of experience working with the Lycoming County Housing Authority and other types of federal housing programs in the Williamsport area in particular, but they're looking forward to expanding here into Center County. So that'll be a really nice single family home, 3-bedroom style for folks that meet the criteria. And they are asking for $300,000. Next is a contract with Strawberry Fields. They are asking for $47,551.13, and that is funding that would go towards the Fairweather Lodge 2. So that's in the former House of Care that's in the State College Borough. And again, that's packaged with some other funding that they've received previously or through the State College Borough for rehabilitation. Moving forward, we are asking for consideration for a grant submission for the fiscal year 24 competition with HUD. This is for our rapid rehousing program. This year, we're actually asking for $619,543.40. So with some historical context here, back in 17-18 when we first applied, we asked for over $200,000, and that was a lot of money. This will be the second expansion that we're requesting in Center County. Reason being is that at this point in time, we serve over 80 unduplicated individuals, and at any given time, we have anywhere from 45 to 50 literally homeless households on our by name list in Center County. So we continue to work really hard to serve them, but we also continue to identify that unmet need so that we can be competitive for additional funds. We're also asking for the approval of a contract with Housing Transitions to provide emergency shelter services. This is actually for fiscal year 23-24 as we've finalized the block grant. This is a program that we have funded in the past as we have additional funding available at the closeout. They're a great partner with us. We actually fund emergency shelter for them now through ESG, and so this is just something to assist with their overnight staffing and services. And I'm sorry, that's for $74,934. We have a contract addendum for fiscal year 23-24, again at the closeout of our funding, having some additional monies available to support the Center Help's Basic Needs Case Management Program. We're providing them with an additional $76,869, totaling $100,159, and again, to support their case management. So They work incredibly well with our team. They actually come into the adult services case reviews every other week. We really heavily rely on them, and they rely on us. And we always look at them as the nonprofit branch, and we're the government branch of doing a lot of the similar services. So we have a really great partnership with them. The last is a new contract. It's a grant agreement with PHFA for the fiscal year 23 fair funding. So I had come to you a couple weeks ago with the conditional award. Once that's completed and signed, we go to the grant agreement. So this will be our second year requesting receiving $30,000 for the housing navigation program. And they just released their RFP for the fiscal year 24. So I'll be back soon requesting to submit for more money. And that's what we have for adult services today.
Great, well, thanks, Faith. You've got 8 items here. I think all but one of them are involved in some type of housing of one type or another. Appreciate your staff's work on this, the funding from both the federal and the state governments for us to do what we can to try to make this crisis a little less difficult. The affordable housing is a problem nationwide, statewide, regionally, and even here locally in Center County, as we are a growing county, not necessarily a quickly growing county, but at least a growing county. We constantly need more and more and more housing. And unfortunately, shortly after the Great Recession of 2007 and 2008, it goes that far back, there just haven't been enough dwelling units being built anywhere in the country, really.
And I just want to add, too, as a plug, pre-pandemic, our thought was always, don't apply for money that's short term. And then the pandemic showed us, here's money.
Yeah.
And as much as that was the most challenging period of my life, professionally and personally, it's prepared us to take money as it comes down and just kind of live in the moment. And so that's why our departments had the ability and the capacity to do what we're doing. I'm also really grateful to planning for the work that they've done to help us with the EREP 2. We received responses back for those 4 projects within 4 days from the state, and I had 1 error, and it was 1 date missing. And it was awesome. It was the biggest professional win. They were so pleased with our submissions. They approved them almost right away, and they actually sent us a thank you note. So the state does not send a thank you note often. So that has really motivated my team and got us really excited to do this work because we get to see an outcome, and that's not something you typically get to see in human services. So we really appreciate your support too, and we're ready to just keep moving along as money continues to come down for housing.
That is wonderful, Faith. Appreciate your work, your staff's work on this. Obviously, even the whole home program has also been going very, very well.
That's been great, yep.
And I believe, due in part to the assistance of our Affordable Housing Task Force, we are one of the first counties in the state to have actual applications in for the ERAP 2 25% program.
I believe so. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but what I will say is we didn't have a lot of examples.
Yes.
Right? And so we worked really hard as a team, as a task force. We submitted some prototypes. We got a lot of good feedback. And now that we're there, I'm just speaking for myself, now that I have applicable, projects, it makes it a lot easier for me to learn and communicate with these new applicants and say, this is what we need to do. And that makes me feel a whole lot better about the process. So we're in a good spot. We do have quite a number of inquiries. We are wrapping up our rental assistance funding now, getting a final number for the team. We have way more inquiries than we do money, but that puts us in a nice position to see what we want to do moving forward. So it's nice to see how many projects we have out there.
Wonderful. Commissioner Concepcion, comments or questions?
Yeah, just thank you to you and your team for working through all this new uncharted territory. And it's going to be exciting to get to see these projects and see it make a difference in the lives of people in Center County.
That'll be great.
And yeah, thanks for having that kind of courage to go after the one-time money and see how, if you could do something this year, it makes a difference now, here, and now for the people who are here.
Yep,
now, so.
you got it.
Yep.
Commissioner Dershowitz, comments or questions?
Well, I think we all know, and if you look at some of those figures, you realize there is no more affordable housing.
Yeah.
So if we don't provide some element of funding, these projects will not continue. And this is an opportunity for us to continue to add to the housing stock for people that are struggling financially. And I think it's important, the work that you're doing, and we really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
Great. Any questions, Gary? No? All right. Looks like we could take a motion then.
I'll move to add adult service items 2 through 8 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to add items 2 through 8 for adult services to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Faith. We'll move on to our consent agenda. I noticed John's sitting in a chair he doesn't normally sit in this time of the day. Thanks for rejoining us. You had an off-site meeting. We'll take a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve this week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll bring Melanie back up for a CNET sponsorship.
You're a veteran now.
I am, yes. Hello again. I am asking for your approval of the sponsorship of the live stream 2024 general presidential election vote by mail processing rooms at the Penn Stater Hotel and Conference Center and here at the Willowbank Building EOC.
Great. Thanks for covering that item, Melanie. And,
Thank you.
you know, if somebody wants to see the process but can't make it in person, you can just watch it on CNET. And I'm assuming that program will start roughly 7:01 a.m. in the morning on Election Day and
Yes.
run for, God knows, at least 12 hours.
Forever, yes. I'm fairly new to that, so that
Yes.
was so interesting. I actually went on and looked at old ones
Yeah.
before I got here. I was like, this is so interesting that everything's televised, so.
Yes.
It's definitely new.
Great. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions or comments?
No, I just think it's important that we provide this opportunity for transparency and for people to see
What we
you know,
do.
how the process works. So,
Yeah.
so they know, you know, when they put their mail-in ballot in the mail or in a drop box,
Mm-hmm.
they have a sense of what happens on the other end. So.
I would concur. I think it's a good program, and it has been, so.
Yes. Great. Looks like we can take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the CNET sponsorship for the 2024 general presidential election vote by mail processing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the CNET sponsorship for the 2024 general presidential election vote by mail processing. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Melanie, and we do appreciate CNET's time for that. That's nice little 13-hour
Shuts down their other
long,
programming.
14-hour-long programming. So appreciate your flexibility on that. All right, we can move on to the check run with Commissioner Concepcion.
Sure. The check that I'll highlight today is to Massaro Construction Management. They've been really an integral team member on our Center Crest renovation project that will be our new county human services and elections building. And that project has been moving along on time. So it seems quite successful so far. And with that, I will move to approve the check run dated September 6, 2024.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the check run dated September 6. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Natalie, I'm assuming there's no administrator's report.
No administrator's report.
All right. Moving on to reports and announcements, Commissioner Concepcion has a updated voter registration report.
So today we have 102,068 total voters on the report. That is up 427 from last week's report. Of those, Democratic voters comprise 42,452, Green Party voters 151, Libertarian voters 591, no affiliation voters 14,503, and Republican voters comprise 41,404 voters. All of the other small parties add up to 2,967 voters, coming to that total number of 102,068. Our party of the week this week is the Nonpartisan Party, and they actually have 84 voters on our rolls. It's one of the larger of the small parties. Moving to our precinct of the week, we're looking at precinct 69, Penn Township, I'm sorry. They have 576 voters on the rolls. Of those, they had a turnout of 32% in the April general primary. Precinct 69, Penn Township, votes at St. James United Methodist Church at 501 Main Street in Coburn, and we're grateful to the church for allowing us to use their facility. So that is our report.
Great. Let's It's a small but mighty township, and I think one of their more unique locations would be a place called Frogtown. Always like biking through Frogtown, very scenic. All right, thank you, Commissioner Concepcion. The remainder of our announcements, October 21st is the last day to register to vote before the November 5th election. October 29th is the last day to apply for a mail-in or civilian absentee ballot for the November 5th election. Natalie, do we have any executive sessions to report or hold?
No.
Okay. All right, and the remainder of our public meeting schedule, this Thursday, we have a Board of Elections meeting at 1. Tuesday, September 17th, Board of Commissioners meeting at 10. And then the following week, Thursday, September 19th, we have a combined Board of Commissioners and Salary Board at 10. And then on Thursday, September 19th in the afternoon, we have a Records Improvement Committee at 1 p.m. I see we have more than one press person in the audience today, so we'll open it up for any questions. No?
I'm done, thank you.
Yes?
I have one. Not dissimilar to Mr. Franick here, we both just came from the solar PPA work group, and I was just wondering how the commissioners were feeling about their place in the work group, given that some members of the media have been outspoken against it in recent weeks, and I was just wondering if you all were feeling good.
Well, we're still waiting for some of the final numbers, but to the best of our knowledge, it will save all the participants significant amounts of money, in part because that was the original plan, and also in part because the cost of power has gone up noticeably over the past couple of months, and yet I believe this particular program has a fixed cost for up to 15 years, but all the participants will have the option 5 years in and 10 years in to say, well, it's not for us anymore. Obviously, when you're doing a public-private partnership like this, there's a lot of convenience for the public participants, especially not having to front the money to pay for the solar array, the permits, everything else that's required. But on the other hand, the private firm does need to make money because that's what they're in this for. So we're still considering that and still taking a serious look at it, but I don't think it's quite finished at this point. Any additional comments from the other commissioners?
Yeah, I think the key points are like looking at the kilowatt per hour rates, and that those look quite favorable, and then the financial security of having predictability in those costs.
Commissioner Dershowitz.
I'm looking forward to seeing the final product, but as you can probably imagine, anytime you put 12 government entities in a room and try to get them to decide on anything, it is going to be a long process, and it's going to be a storied process. And before I say yay or nay, I want to see the final product, see what the numbers look like, and ultimately, to my fellow commissioners' credit, let's see how much money we save.
Yeah.
And that's really what this is all about. It provides us a stable platform for electrical consumption moving forward, and if we can do that at a significant savings, I think that's the important part. But the making the sausage of government sometimes is a little messy, but
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
it's a little messy, but I think the main thing from my perspective is, we look at this and see how it all pans out. And is it a perfect process when you put 12 entities together? Probably not. Will it be a good process and a good outcome? That's what we're looking for. So.
Thank you all, I appreciate it.
Great, so thanks, great question. Any other questions? No? All right, looks like we could take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn then.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn at 10:54. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Great, thanks everybody for coming.